With eBay Refurbished, you have a choice of refurbished qualities to best fit your budget. Certified refurbished items are restored by the manufacturer to like new for up to 50% off. This drill was barely out of the box. Soon it will be back to working like new. Here's how it works. Every item is carefully inspected. Any imperfections are fixed by the manufacturer or manufacturer-approved vendor. Then it's tested to make sure it's working perfectly. Once it passes inspection, it's given the verified stamp of approval. Then repackaged with new accessories and shipped to its ultimate destination. With Certified Refurbished, you can shop with confidence because all our manufacturers go through a rigorous vetting process. And every purchase comes with an award-winning 2-year warranty, a money-back guarantee, and hassle-free returns. That's what makes it the smarter way to shop for premium brands. eBay Refurbished. Like new products, better than new prices.
Well, it was definitely a strong start for FaZe on their map pick. For a few rounds at least, it ended up being a really fun game to watch, but that's right out of the gate. After a couple of rounds, things didn't look necessarily the greatest for FaZe.
Yeah, I mean, FaZe, we kind of talked about their prided on their defense, right? And certainly they had a great start. They won pistol, which is massive considering usually how successful the Guard are on pistol rounds. They kind of lead the field in that regard. But like once the economy got in order for the Guard, they just were on the gas the entire first half on the attacking side. They really did show just how powerful Harbor's Cascade can be on just like pushing these corridors and taking space. And it's just, you know, the Guard being the Guard, right? They're very good at playing that methodical map control style, using their utility, spacing properly, just trading efficiently, and just, you know, really locking it in. And that's why they won, you know, the vast majority of their post plans.
It's still really competitive, though, with that 13-11 for the first map. Right, we talked about FaZe either, you know, in those back against the wall moments, either standing up to the occasion or kind of crumbling. It definitely seemed, though, when things were in a little bit of a pinch after timeouts, we definitely got to see some good highlights.
Oh, we saw many moments of brilliance from FaZe. I mean, even the first half, right? Like it was a 7-5 for Guard, yes, but there were so many scenarios in which FaZe had advantages, right? They lost a 3v5 where Superman got a double kill early. This was round number 7. Like these kind of scenarios just show that FaZe were actually, they had the right idea, they had the right early round plays. They just weren't able to convert these advantageous scenarios. And then going into the second half, losing that pistol, that just made them lose almost all steam up until that point where their backs were against the wall, right? Like we said, they're in the corner, and this time they actually owned up to it. They started cleaning rounds after round after round. Even with economy disadvantage rounds, they were still securing those. So I mean, shout out to FaZe. They made this game incredibly close, but at the end, Guard just looked a little bit more well constructed.
Yeah, especially then, Des, you already touched upon the Harbor pick coming out from VALORANT, and I feel like that was really interesting. It's one that we've gotten to see before from them, kind of touching on the fact that it seemed like Harbor and Lotus were made like hand in hand, and I feel like that was really nice for them during a lot of the rounds to start things off, that FaZe couldn't really push through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the size of like a lot of the different like corridors and pathways of the map, they're almost the exact same size as just a single cascade. So you can use that to like, you know, obviously on the offensive side, it really helped them get space on the A side of the map. They really start kind of closing it and split that. But also they used it aggressively really well, particularly over on the C side, like Mound. Like they used it to burn a lot of FaZe's utility, make them waste a lot before they could get onto a side exactly. Like it was so big. Also, if we're talking about comps, you know, I have to applaud FaZe for trying something different, right? I mean, they swapped around Dicey to Killjoy. They, you know, changed up as well, like their controller and everything. So, like, as well as their initiator going to the sky. So they were certainly trying something different because they knew that they were kind of having some issues on, and it just didn't quite work all the way out, right? Like, certainly they put up a good fight. I think it was a closer game than I anticipated. But at the end, the Guard were always just kind of like one step ahead.
Yeah, honestly, when I saw the comp, I thought, okay, you know, usually FaZe is known for this like very brute forcey style. They like to be brawly, so I didn't really expect the breach to go away. So when I saw a double controller, I was kind of suspicious, like, how is this gonna go? but oddly, it fit their style more. It felt like they were more in control of certain scenarios. They had great control of the pace. They were able to change up the pace whenever they wanted. They had so many like tools in their arsenal that they could just pull from at any point in time, and it seems like they're actually on the right path this time.
Well, that path is going to be leading these teams down to Ascent next, and this one was the guards pick going into this best of 3. So this is where things get a little tricky at this point. FaZe losing their own pick in Ascent, I mean, good for a lot of teams, especially the guard.
Oh, yeah. The Guard are actually undefeated on this map since August of last year, if you really want to take it all the way back to, like, VCT of last year. Obviously, for the year, they also have won all 5 games they played. They won both matches in the Ludwig Invitational. They've also won all 3 times they played it during the split. And all of them, they were rarely even allowing their opponents to get to double digits. Like, they have been extremely efficient. They've used the same composition each time this year. And that double initiator with the jet, like, they just seem to have everything figured out. So this is going to be a tall task for FaZe. But Ascent is also a map that they have at times been successful on when you kind of look at the core of the roster deep into last year. But it hasn't really worked out for them, I feel like, in the first split.
The fact that you say at times is the part that's the scariest of that, considering this is FaZe's chance to try and bring us into a map 3, into that decider. But considering those moments of brilliance that we did get to see Roy over on Lotus, what should we be hoping for on Ascent for FaZe to be able to try and take us to game 3?
Yeah, I would say for me, from my end, I want to know, because the last time we saw FaZe play Ascent, it was about a month ago. So I'm curious to see whether FaZe has made any sort of changes to their comp on that map as well, because they were running the Sova and the Fade, if I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, it was the Sova and the Fade on that map. I'm curious to see if they swapped over to anything different, or if they're just going to keep trying to fix up the holes with their current comp. But I mean, FaZe looks pretty even on both sides. They have almost 60% on their attack and 60% on their defense, so they're pretty well rounded. They haven't really gotten swept, and they've had some convincing wins, especially against Turtle Troop about a month and a half ago. So from my perspective, I feel like Ascent could go either way, but it's definitely leaning towards the Guard.
I feel like that might be a group consensus, because I think the casters also talked about the 2-0 going into this. If Lotus wasn't going in the way of FaZe, well, then it looks like a 2-0. Dust, how about you, real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, like, Ascent is one of those maps that I feel like everyone knows how to play, like, to some level. It's just all about the mid-round decision-making, particularly on the attacking side. Like, when you're able to start establishing tree control, or maybe even, you know, into market, it opens up your options on the attacking side. And it also, though, the map plays to people who want to play explosive. Like, that is an option that you can do. It's just the Guard, I feel like, are so well-rounded on defense that it's going to be hard for FaZe to have, like, a successful explosive offense, in my opinion. We saw that against M80, right? I mean, M80 tried to be very explosive against the Guard, and the Guard had ways to shut it down. I don't see this being any different.
Well, we'll have to see just how it's going to shake up. The Agent Select is ready, and so are our casters standing by. So it's time to toss it on over to them.
Thank you once more to the desk, Dryad. Here we are, one map down, our FaZe, but we go the distance as far as you could go. I think for some people, we were hoping to see that from FaZe. For other people, we weren't expecting to really see that from FaZe. The Guard come into this one, the heavy favorites. Now we shape our thoughts out towards this map of Ascent that, just as Dust said on the desk, everybody should know how to play this map. It's been out for so long, and it's the most standard. It's the most kind of vanilla of the maps. Outside of a couple of doors that close, you take mid control, you look to take a sight off of that, whatever you can get. And there's not much more to it. It's not like Lotus. Now we jump into this one, though, and Dust also brought it up. M80 should know how to play this map, sure. And the Guard beat the brakes off of M80 on this map. It was a little closer in scoreline when you look at it. It wasn't a 13-1. But M80 didn't get a single attacking round, Dryad. FaZe have to best M80's attack in order to not get to it.
It goes back again to the strong sides for both of the teams. So for the Guard, we know how good the defense is, but for FaZe, the attacking side, which is where they're going to be relying a little bit more on fighting to take that victory of the map and take us to map number 3. But even then, I think we already all talked about it, the desk mentioned it, is going to be difficult for sure. 3-0 and undefeated not only for the split, but since last year is the Guard on this map. And it is because of how good they are. And the structure that they play, the macro that they play is so organized. And one of the things that even Dust was saying was how you have to fight for market control, maybe a little bit for tree control early on. This is something that the Guard is doing pretty much every single round, where they're fighting and they're putting techs forward, and every single time they're capitalizing from it.
And we see an early change. Supa feeling more comfortable on the Omen versus the Astra. Poised also rocking the KO in this one. I think what bodes the best for FaZe coming into this is when you look at Poise, you look at Rossi, they're going back to picks that they know and love.
Yeah.
On the Viper, Rossi doesn't have the same tools that he has as this info initiator, which coming into this one, I'm pretty sure he's playing flashes, so we do know that this player can be flexible, but being put on info, Sova, if you're going to make individual plays, Sova is going to be one of the best agents to be able to do that because you can get yourself and your team the information. So comfortability is key, and FaZe have it. Once more, they started their defense. It's about how many rounds they can get here. They need to get as many as possible, so that way their attack, they can just look to push it down the guard's throats. If not, the guard will be finding themselves one step closer to our grand finals, and FaZe will find themselves in that lower bracket.
So the compositions are going to stay the same as well for the guard, but FaZe making us go to that mirror match, which is going to be really good because, again, what the guard loves to do is fighting for catwalk and taking catwalk very, very early on. So curious to see if FaZe is going to do the same thing, is going to be able to shut it down when it comes to that. But before that, of course, we got a technical pause.
But before that, of course, we get a technical pause. Yeah, it was interesting. The FaZe comp before this was flashless. The FaZe comp before this was Poise playing the Fade next to Rossi on the Sova and Supa playing the Astra.
Yeah.
So they go back, like you said, to that mirror matchup. But I also think that if Poised is having a bad game and Babybay's having a great game, at the very least, and we could even say the same thing for Rossi, right? Because usually when Babybay is popping off, Poise and Rossi are a little more quiet. And then it's the inverse on the opposite side. So if Babybay is going off, look at these agents that you now have around this jet, right? You can flash Babybay in. You can recon bolt for information. You can have the jet play behind the drone, better than the jet would be able to play behind a Prowler in previous when Poise was on that Fade. So I think they're really giving themselves a lot of options to be able to play the style that they want to play on the day, whether it be the aggressive Babybay in your face style or the Babybay chaos, and then Rossi and Poised show to really pick up the slack where it's needed.
And it's important for FaZe to try to get away with this map, knowing they are actually the only team that has played every single map in the current map pool, or what is challengers, every single one of them, and they made those changes when necessary. Sometimes we early on we used to see the neon for Babybay and other maps, and then they change it to the jet, and for this map as well it's going to be that compositional change. But now the question is, are those changes actually working for your team? Are they enough to guarantee at least a map number 3 for these series?
An awkward time in the pause. That barriers go down with 2 seconds left on the timer, and with that, we hop out the pause, and the guard are already right in the face of the defense. Forced away is Dicey. He's going to try and play close once more. A couple of right clicks later, he'll find his kill, but Jonah P there on the trade. A beautiful shock dart from Rossi, though, and that's exactly what we talked about. Give this guy the comfortability, and he will find the value. He eventually does get traded out, but it's Trent and Valen that find themselves the last two alive. A right click to the head, a left click to the body. Valen, the lone survivor here on the island, and I think he's about to get voted off. It'll be Supa and Poised. Supa puts in his vote. Unfortunately, one not enough. Valen be feeling a bit too comfortable in this. It was scary for a second, but we do eventually find that round in favor of FaZe in way of Dan Dryad teammates.
Everybody from FaZe, they get their one, and that means every round that they feel a little bit more comfortable with for this defense. It's what gave them the start, a really good start actually into Lotus, and what usually gives them that confidence to play it. It's gonna be, this is gonna be one of those maps that can potentially be all the way into the long run to see who's gonna be able to close it out. Very similar to Lotus. So for the guard, most of the players towards A going for an aggressive one.
Cannot use that.
Yeah, I mean, how about that shock dart? That finds so much value there. Jonah P nearly erased, eating the brunt of that one. Valen also taking quite a bit of damage.
One of my favorite things about this matchup and this map specifically is trying to watch Rossi and Trent. The two Sova players, incredibly good, one of the best of their teams respectively. And so it's good to see how that aggression and that usage of utility changes between the two. We know Transfer being aggressive in so many rounds. They've done it for forever. And now FaZe is able to do a little bit more of the same, creating that early damage to the enemy.
Warming up the shots with the scoped rifle. Maybe a bit of foreshadowing as to what he's hoping to have in his hands later in the game.
This is one of those rounds where you're just trying to take that damage and get any damage onto a FaZe who just had a flawless round for that pistol. When it came to everybody getting there at once, so it gets lower, and in the meantime, FaZe playing slow guard back, getting the results, time running out for the guard.
10 seconds left.
And I mean, at this point too, if you're the guard, you just need to find a way to die. Oh, okay, maybe even look to get that spike planted. Jonah snuck his way onto the site. He gets that spike down, so I mean, they'll be happy to have those extra credits. A near flawless round. Only losing the Marshall was Baby Bay. But FaZe, they get us started again, nice and early. A pistol round, an anti-eco. They punish the guard early in the game. We'll see if they can keep it moving forward.
And that's the question: can they keep this going for a little bit longer? The guard is used to losing, and they're comfortable losing maybe that second round, the third round. They're losing their pistol, but they never allow the enemy team to snowball and get some momentum going. They shot it down early enough into those big important rounds. And for FaZe, it's important to prove the opposite, to be able to do that and get something going on in this defensive side where they're actually trying to meet the aggression from the guard.
Oh yeah, it's quick, the lesser weaponry, so they'll take the fight right to him, but the guard were ready only for a moment. The crunch is there inside the B part of the map. They just get mowed down. But all said and done, the bodies have dropped. The massacre of B lobby, and it's Rossi and VALORANT stand atop. Well, it's only VALORANT stands atop the bodies. Rossi is unscathed.
Not ready yet.
But a 1v1 to end it all. Dryad, this alone, this is a win for FaZe. This is a great round for them.
Yeah, made this round already so expensive, and trying to meet that aggression in a completely unexpected way for the guard. It's just all back and forth. And shutting down exactly what we talked about, the guard likes to do. Try to go for that mid control every single round. They go for it, but I mean, even then, a 1v1.
Unfortunately, Rossi's taking a little too long. Oh, no way! The paranoia misses, and Rossi gets it done.
Oh, VALORANT just going for the aggression there with the paranoia, expecting it to connect as well. But it just misses, and that's the third round for FaZe. What a good start that they're having. Finished. And this actually happened for the guard against M80. They lost 3 rounds in a row.
Placing swamp
The buys, they looked a little different. I think for this one, the guard were caught completely off guard. I'm sorry, but...
Don't you apologize
so
for
well
that.
done.
Yeah, and FaZe seemed unfazed by the lesser weaponry that they had.
All right, Tanner.
We said, you know, we match cringe for cringe. It's
Thanks.
not market control. Instead, up towards the catwalk or the guard. Good paranoia out from A main. It's 4 players strong, but a paranoia in response. And Tex, the only one who is actually allowed to cross through tree. He does so aggressively. Unfortunately, he will meet his fate. Jonah P collects 1 kill for the guard, but maybe 1 and done as the weapon's a bit too far out of reach. The operator still holds it down here, and Dicey now gonna try and pick things up out towards B instead. Rossi catches them before they could even get there, and this guy, again, if Rossi don't do it, it don't get done, it seems.
Rossi just so good when it comes to taking things into his own hands and making sure the team is going to be up those rounds. In a map that, again, it's been... Nobody has been able to take down the guard on this map. It's their best map by far, especially that split number 1 that we got to see week after week.
30
3-0.
seconds left.
And even though for FaZe was a little more shaky, they're proving that this composition is working out. The read that they had in the guard was good. And where'd that go?
Shadows traveling.
That... I want to hold that thought because there is a world where the guard continue to do more damage. They'll get the spike planted. Turret reveals a few players up top. Jonah P has no way out. Unfortunately, the glass to be broken as well. So just when I thought more damage could be dealt, it was only damage to the guard. But Jonah P walked into main and hit that ranked player KO. I have a lineup 0 point. And it went straight up and straight back down into main. That did not work as intended.
It's going to Haven. It's going to Fracture, actually.
Yeah, it's going to Fracture.
You just... Sounds for you. Sounds for you.
As,
It's going to Fracture if we go to that third map. You'll see it, don't worry.
That's true. You will see. Well, we probably actually won't even get a KO. I think Poise... Yeah, that knife is there. Poise will be on the sky. Knife will help him out eventually. Actually, I guess there's Jones.
You'll still see it.
Yeah, you'll still see it. It'll still be there. We're dissecting that knife a little too much as that round was kind of a wash either way. A good start to this one, though. They've spotted out where this operator is, but a lot of time left on the clock, and Baby Bay's shit around the world.
The Null Command coming through, but it has to be expected. That is why the entirety of the defense just playing back. You know, when the Null Command is coming through, it's going to be the B hit more often than not, so... Guard as well with the early pick, looking good. As we take the first round into this map number 2, the spike's going to be planted.
And you see the proficiency there in the take, even in just like the duelist play from Tex. He's a little ahead of the play. Jonah P says, hey, I'm going to flash. He's still ahead of the team. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't stop. He just looks away from the flash himself. No danger, so he couldn't be punished. Nobody to punish on the opposite side, but he stays alive and finds a kill through the smoke. And now we go lockdown for lockdown, unfortunately, for Dicey. I mean, I guess this one, it keeps the players at bay on the site, but not much more than that. Because we got the lockdown on the opposite end, FaZe are just forced to back away from this one. The guard reared up to finally find their first round here of Ascent. That did not come for free. A couple of ultimates used, and a couple of kills on the way out as Baby Bay will save the yacht. The guard are finally on the board.
First round here for the guard, and going well because things were going to get messy if not. But again, playing around it so well, and like you said, the lockdown for the defense, it doesn't really do too much. It doesn't force the players to play forward and try to put them in that line of for FaZe. So it just ends up working out for the guard. But the actual 2 ultimates that they end up investing into, it feels like they're more often than not going to rely on that mid control that we saw early on, but it was getting shot down for FaZe with the aggressive rounds. And I want to see if they're going to go for it again.
And just when I thought it's kind of hard to miss the mark as to where you set up this operator, because just about every inch of the map is played in every single round, but nobody even creeps up towards B main. Baby Bay, it's nothing, so he's posted up aggressively. Meanwhile, go back to the same play out towards Catwalk, but unaffected. Superman not gonna be hit by that paranoia. Poised, gonna slow things down. A couple of flashes, tosses out the 0 point, and will reveal 2 players on the opposite side. Another flash on through will help himself to another kill. The A site, nobody here directly on it. We go back and forth. The operator will slowly work its way across the map. That's 2 players here from FaZe for now.
I mean, his whole trades as well, and knowing that the KO was there, trying to play the anti-flash. He just managed to work out to the 3v3 spike planted. That could have a timing.
Good.
A 3v3, but Baby Bay is just so far disconnected from the play. He was nowhere near a rifle to be able to find himself helping his team. Just slowly works his way on up, and I feel the ultimate goal there for Baby Bay was, hey, I just have to play exits. If you guys can't get it done on the site, then we can't get it done at all, and that's exactly what happened.
And Baby Bay trying to go for those exit frags with the operator. And you see it at least one, but then this is where things start to get scary when the guards are winning those rounds. This is what he said. I mean, they're so good at shutting down any momentum from any team. whether that is the top teams, the middle teams, the bottom teams, the guard is always finding an answer. They're comfortable losing rounds early on. They're comfortable going down a couple rounds and then making it back.
Placing swarm grenade.
And I think that comes as well with the experience that they have as a team, playing together, being successful as well as a team.
Yeah, the first time you and I had casted the guard, it was against Disguised. And they looked shaky to get started. But as you mentioned, right, the experience.
They turn it around.
Yep, they turn it around. They got it done in a pretty convincing fashion. That was on Vine, which was quite some time ago, and that map's no longer in the pool. But we're seeing it here on Ascent. Tex, however, will take the site. Valen will join him. That turret still gonna get some extra damage, so padding the numbers there. Damage per round. Going over to Dicey, it's a bit higher. We go no command, boys. Now wants to get aggressive, narrowly missing the opportunity to fight Tex as he drops on down. Look at this Hunter's Fury, though, from Trent. This guy just doesn't miss. 3 players affected by that, and this retake gets that much harder.
The damage as well, the utility as always for Trent on point for the Hunter's Fury, but it doesn't get any kills though.
No kills, just good damage, and nobody's actually able to capitalize on anything else as Trent and Valen will hold on for a moment. Finally, the util finds its way back through. Trent does it once more. Looks to take this duel, and it's a hand spotted and a couple of bullets through the wall. Baby Bay 6 feet under his poise will try and fight his way out of this one. Another tap on the spike means no time to defuse, and Poise will try and walk away from it all. Operator in hand, but does he survive the explosion? It seems yes, he does, but the round for the guard and the kills for FaZe.
But the round, though, more importantly, going for the guard. And once again, putting a situation in a 5v5, played so much faster than what we're used to seeing for the guard. And taking full control as well.
One enemy remaining.
With all the utility that we got to see by the initiators.
Turn out.
I mean, you save the operator, you give it to Baby Babe. But everybody else, they're going to be struggling for this round. Not too much
Get out of my
play
way.
with. So yeah, the guard are going to take advantage of it.
And they want to go fast again. Should reveal a player here. Oh my goodness, Dicey. Undetected for way too long as Poise will help bail him out. A flash, but going to be affected himself just narrowly. But now the guard are starting to reel it back in. These lesser weaponry is starting to show for FaZe. Rossi with just the Sheriff. They get out. The lockdown from Net, and Baby Bay creeps on up. Jonah P, maybe thinking he had an operator, try to find that flick through the wall. Doesn't get anything here. So in way of ultimates used, I mean, you have to think FaZe are counting their blessings for this one. Unfortunately, it does not mean the round.
And these rounds are expensive for sure between the two, but even if in the last 2 rounds, I believe, maybe even more, we've seen the guard losing one of their members early on. There's always somebody there to trade. Again, just looking at how comfortable they feel, how well planned every single one of these executions are. To once again make things even. So it is the same story as the map number 1, where at 4, both of the teams meet.
FaZe have come into this series completely fired up. Taking map 1 to the guard. Unfortunately losing it, but I think looking better than anybody had expected. And they do it again here on Ascent. Putting up a strong performance against the team that beat the #1 team, but didn't finish as the #1 team, which makes the guard look like the #1 team. So we find ourselves knotted up at 4, and operator still in the hands of Baby Bay. And FaZe will call a timeout to try and deal with this recent aggression that the guard have been putting on him.
And one of the things that you mentioned, right, the who's that #1, it just feels like the guard had that one shaky performance against TSM, but after that, I feel like the one real test was the one that we got to see between MAD and the guard, and the fact that they were able to take it the way they did just proves to me that they are #1, as everybody was expecting. Even before that split #1 started, everybody plays this team high, and it is because of everything that we've been talking about. How good they've been, how long they've been together, how good their coordination is. I remember one of the interviews as well for Valen. He was saying they don't want to separate. They don't want to go their own ways just yet, and that was for the first week. They just knew that this that they had going on was everything that they needed.
The faith in the team, which I don't think you could argue against any one of these players to be on a partner team. But like you mentioned, they'd have to be picked apart to be able to do that. So
Yeah,
faith
exactly.
in the guard to stand strong as 5. We'll see if they keep it going here as they've put a few rounds in a row themselves. This next round here, round number 9 for the lead, as Baby Bay can go up and over the top. The Hunter Fury does not reveal, but the knives will be just enough. Pinpoint accuracy to the body of Trent. Finds the info initiator down.
And Trent hearing the push, but not able to react in time. So Rossi gonna capitalize from it even more. 2 kills
One enemy remaining.
for the
Flawless.
Soba as FaZe shut it down completely. This aggressive defense working so well now.
Yeah, holy sheets, flawless there. I want to talk about what Rossi did in that round. They thought they were safe. Jonah P said, hey, let's swing tiles. We know the jet is there. I'm going to toss out my fragment. Rossi planted his feet. He absorbed it. He incubated it. He sat on it. He mother-henned it. He let that baby hatch, and he got 2 kills for it.
So good, yeah. It is a full commitment when FaZe is playing aggressive, especially in the defense. It's not just a couple of them, and it's not just Baby Bay. It's not just the support that you give to Baby Bay. Everybody is going in, and it's giving them the results. Good info early on by the KO knife. The guard again, ready and comfortable, waiting just a little bit longer.
Okay, set play here. We get that fragment out towards Wine. It'll clear that one out. FaZe also having a player cleared here inside a main. A flash behind it means Superman. Oh, you'll be watching it from the sidelines here, clicking through the POV stream that he's been granted in death.
Placing swarm.
Just set plays. After just seeing that aggression, at least that early presence FaZe wanted to take to guarantee their one, but now,
Spike down.
oh yeah, Baby Bay gets another one, has to back up.
There they are.
Ooh, and Rossi trying to capitalize. This is what I was talking about, that utility. He can help himself if he needs to. Unfortunately, everybody moved away to safety.
Spike
And with that, Jonah P says no more util. No command online. Spike planted. Working back toward that ultimate. Tex is just on the other side of the door, trying to catch somebody off guard as that flash goes through. Tex has dealt with Dicey there to bail Rossi out. 3v3, the healthier players here for FaZe. Trent, and hope for some spam. Dicey catches Jonah P trying to hop up and play off of that dart. And with that, Baby Bay just backs away from it. FaZe in a really solid spot here to try and secure this round. Nanoswarm will take down Rossi. Trent will duke it on out, and a shorty is just enough to deal with the 39 HP Sova. And FaZe have done it again for another round win.
Oh, that was insane though, the back and forth between the two. The Killjoy Taylor manages to get one and makes it into a 1v1, but Baby Bay dropping. The shorty guarantees one more. What a good turnaround of events and defense setup that we've seen for FaZe.
Placing swarm grenade.
Even into this one, even after they lost one of their players early on. Guard gonna take a timeout from it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see just how, I mean, from a regular season to now, between these two teams, the amount of timeouts that we've been seeing, we expended every timeout in map number 1, and we're halfway there as we close our first half, right, for map number 2. So a lot coming into this one, a lot of deliberation to be had. This one, I would imagine, is probably a little bit about the economy of the guard, but also trying to figure out ways. It's so hard to deal with the defense, especially when Baby Bay is finding the right place to be, or he's putting himself in the right place, whether that be with the knives or something of the sort out towards mid. And then you go back and you look at this round, and the guy's playing an off angle, just standing out in the open, but he can do that because he's Jet, and you're just not expecting anybody to be just standing in the doorway just outside your smoke, especially not with an operator. So the guard gonna try and wrap their heads around what exactly Baby Bay is doing, and they need to do so soon because it's working.
It is working. It's just the positioning that Baby Bay has had towards the A side. We've seen it a couple times towards B, though. That is not where the guard have ended up at least pushing from B main. So they haven't seen that setup just yet. It's actually where he is right now. Yeah, Nika around. Immediately Jonah gets shut down.
Yeah, trying to sell this play out towards mid. Maybe a B crunch. They put Tex deep.
Cooling down.
Mid, just inside the spawn, or just outside the spawn of FaZe, I should say. Good shots there onto Poison. The spike slowly working its way up through tree. Supa gonna hop away to heaven, which means Rossi will have no help here. Directly on the site, he doesn't need it. He'll find his kill. That's Valen down. He'll be IGLing from the sidelines. Supa gonna hop on up, expects his play out through heaven.
Spike
Trent is the
down
next
A.
one dealt with. Net and Tex, they've got themselves rifles, but they also find themselves in a less than desirable situation as Rossi, some way, somehow, finds some spam, sends some more on out, and spike in hand. 40 seconds on the clock. What can you even do here?
Two of the players towards hell, just watching the angle, watching the draw.
Enemy remaining.
And it had to be, it was a jump at the same time, but the reaction at the same time for FaZe to shut it down. FaZe, they
Last
get to
round
7.
before the switch.
And it seems like that was a win condition. It seems like that was the one task that they had to do and complete. To try to take the advantage on this defensive side on this first half, and they just did that.
And we're seeing FaZe start to pull ahead. That was all about to become strays or something of the sort. We see FaZe start to pull ahead on what is both of the weak sides for this team, right? We're expecting FaZe to be stronger on the attack, especially here on Ascent. We're expecting the guard to be stronger on defense. So if the guard are the overall stronger team on this map, FaZe want every round that they can get here on defense. And they've already got themselves the better side of the half, but 8-4 feel pretty darn good.
A very minimum lead. Now they know, though, that Baby is going to be waiting here. A lockdown as well to give that green light for the guard that, yeah, it's time to run away. It's time to run. Back to mid, back to the A side. And again, it's so good because Rossi waiting on the other side with an Odin as well.
That smoke
damage onto Tex.
just in time. Recon bolt also just in time, but a fragment at his feet, and Rossi has to back away. He still gets one. They walked the guard into the lion's den, that lion being Rossi. As he mounts his attack once more, Poise battles back for another Trent, neutralized to only one. As that Hunter Shuri goes wide, it doesn't find a whole lot. We find ourselves equal across the board. Nano swarms are down, spike is planted, 3v3 is where we're at.
Relying on that delay with net. Best chance here, 3v3. Rossi so low for the side of FaZe, but so is Jonah P.
Baby Bay heard.
Swarm grenade out.
Net. Gonna go out on the angle. Spots the barrel. No way. Almost gives it over to him. Baby Bay goes up, but what goes up must come down. But while that was happening, it's all left into the hands of Dicey, who needs to work his way forward. Sure, Jonah P is low, but Net is so darn healthy. And the guard have done it. They battled back for one more at the end of the half. 7-5 is where we flip.
Switching sides.
7-5, and similar once again to the map number 1. But one thing that you mentioned, right, is the roles on their strengths were switched. We're all the other way around, so if you're a FaZe fan, you're hoping that that was enough
One enemy
to push us into the map number 3. And one thing though, throughout the first split, the guard never saw map 3. And that is one of the things that allowed them to play so little maps. Only 3 maps that they played. Or I guess 4 if you count Bind when it was on rotation. They always close it down in 2, and the one time that they lost, it was also an 0-2.
Yeah.
So it'd be the first time that we see the guard taking us the distance.
Standing ahead.
I mean, you just called it right. It was a strategic loss to TSM to not have to show an extra map. Because after that loss, they came out like a bat out of hell, winning the next series, then beating M80 and pseudo cementing themselves at the top. Now we get it. This right here, once more, as we saw it on Lotus, the unstoppable force of FaZe's attack versus the immovable object of the guard's defense. A lot of weight on the shoulders of Baby Bay here in this half.
There's a line in the meantime towards mid. Yeah, Baby Bay gets a first one. Tex there to react though. He's gonna be slowed down.
Oh, balance. No way. No way. They walk into market. Backs turned.
The distraction.
I mean, that's the worst moonwalk I've ever seen. That's the worst moonwalk I've ever seen. They thought they had it all for free because you had 2 players on the site, and it was anything but free. Rossi just dodges out on a couple of shots sent by Net. Smoke to one side, Nano Swarm down. Now they're gonna look to push on through. No help yet for Rossi as he tries to take the fight, and it's only half HP, and the Guard have done it. They take away the round. FaZe give up the round to Valen and Net.
Oh, Valen as well, like you said, and it was a heavy mid presence for the Guard. That ends up working out. You're not expecting all this plays to be there. You already spot one of them, 2 of them with that KO. And all that delay that was creating, and in the meantime, Valen was on the other side ready to take action. So well played for the Guard.
Player standing.
And it once again plays out same as Lotus, where the Guard gets that second pistol.
Placing swarm grenade.
And when it can become a little more difficult for FaZe. I'm gonna go for any buys though, any force on the attacking side.
Not ready yet. Shot down.
It's still very spammable. They didn't get, oh my god. Okay. How about it? Shock darts from both sides on defense. Trent getting good value there. Nothing more.
And the damage in a round like that one just could do the job at the end of the day. The FaZe slowing down a little bit. There was keeping Baby Bay alone.
Oh, okay. Things get a little weird. Somehow Baby Bay is still alive with 45 HP. Finds his first kill on the round. Vex, though, gold rifle in hand, much like we talked about earlier. Warming up to get that operator. At this time, though, here to try and help out. Those shots will start to land.
One enemy remaining.
Fortunately, Rossi not good for much more than one here on this side. Baby Bay.
There's a war over here.
Yeah, just completely locked down here on the B site. Trent and Baby Bay playing their own game. And the dub does go the way of Trent. So 7-7 is where we land. Good damage from FaZe to try and hinder the bonus round here. But thoughts of reinvestment here. Tex is full shields with the Vandal.
And I don't mind this at all, actually. Full commitment, that confidence as well for the Guard. I think what's interesting as well for that last play that we saw where they keep Baby Bay on that B site. Usually you keep your controllers, maybe that Killjoy, just a little bit longer. But yeah, no, that delay doesn't really end up working at all for FaZe, as now we're tied once again. 7-7. A crucial round here for FaZe.
The Guard want to take it away from him. Rossi was ready for it, though. One and done. Your information traded, though, for the duelist on the Guard. Recon Bolt won't be available. Look at the long con being played. Net gonna go up the site. Off that utility. Hope to do a bit of damage. That Superman hops away. Meanwhile, Yona P slowly bringing up the rear and through main.
The damage is good as well, but 4v4 and the weapons here that can be a difference maker for the side of FaZe. Have to play in sight.
Here comes that retake. Paranoia out. Nobody to deal with the recon bolt. It doesn't matter, though. FaZe, they plant their feet and they say, you can know where we're at. We're still going to find these kills. We're still going to win the fights, and that's exactly what they do. As Trent goes for some spam once more, but he's just about out of bullets. And that's the case. 4 left in the drum of the Ares as Baby Bay sits him down. 8-7. FaZe reclaim the lead.
They get it once again, fighting now for the second time to get that lead back on their side.
One enemy remaining.
Their stronger side for the side of FaZe. Looking pretty good. As the guard wanted to go for a little bit
coming
more
back.
aggression,
Out of
but well,
charge.
once that postman took place and once that player got shot down from long, there's nothing else that you could do. Bye.
Revealing area.
It's not the best as well for the guard.
I thought we might see some aggression for that B orb, but instead it'll just be a passive grab from net. Tex still 1 pip away
Cover
from
going
having
out.
the blades online, which would bolster this lesser buy. The gamble stack unfortunately doesn't pay off yet.
It might not at all. The only one that remains here is Ross. He goes for the drone, tries to keep as many players on this A side as possible as the rest of the team starts moving forward towards B. The Killjoy Tittle is going to be the first one to meet them, to greet them here.
Yeah, I think the guard are hoping that
Suppressing.
the Killjoy setup here is enough to deter the hit out this way, but not the case.
30 seconds
They
left.
say hello back to the turret as Valen can go into the back lines. It doesn't get away from the turret though. He had the idea of smoking it, but didn't commit to it as Net tucked away in logs, finds 2 kills for his trouble. Spam doesn't land from Trent. FaZe, a bit worse for wears. Meanwhile, that spike, well, it did eventually go around the world.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, just going from A to B,
Spike
back to the A
planted.
side, where it's going to be planted at the end. For the guard, they try to catch a couple of those players through Trent is going to work well. FaZe had the right idea here. But again, having to play so reactionary to the other side and for the guard. You're hoping that the time is enough here. Another drone here for the other side.
Yeah, and Poise just left in no man's land. Rossi was going for a play of his own. And unfortunately, a little too late in trying to recall that play, get back out to help Poise. All 4 players in the guard were still here. So we go back and forth. It continues. The lesser buy from the guard. It finds a way to win the round, and we're tied up at 8.
8 to 8 between the 2 teams.
Taken out.
With a little back and forth that we got to see between the 2 sides. But it is the way that FaZe like to play this attacking side. Not only on this map, but overall. We've seen those rotations coming through, and we've seen it. And I believe we're going to see even more of that Baby Bear staying into one of the sides, trying to sell a fake. You got to see if that's going to be enough, though, to take the advantage again.
Get out of my way.
Knives just
Again.
in front of a flash. Killjoy not affected by the no command just yet, so that alarm bot reveals, well, confirms, I should say, that this play is happening out this way. 1 knife expended to deal with that recon. Both, they don't want to get spammed through the wall here. The players are suppressed. Valen looking to find the timing. The blades go through. Trent catches that trade. Valen now starting to work his way onto the side as Trent just dances around and tries to survive, and he does much more than that. Valen pushes through. Poise completely flashed up. This back and forth is starting to go the way of the guard as Dicey and Rossi, the last 2 that stand, they're so far disconnected from one another, and that spike is not in possession.
It is so unfortunate for Dicey as well. Was expecting that play. Around this side of FaZe to work out for him to shut down the Lurk to come through, but everybody got shot down, taken down while he was waiting towards mid, and it's no value at all. So now the guard take the lead by 1. They keep the operator once again in the hands of Tex. This is a dangerous situation to deal with, and something that FaZe didn't have to take care of before.
How many times have we seen
Spike down,
this?
B.
Like, I feel like this is any time that we talk about Trent, it's, oh, he's tucked away
Placing
boathouse,
swamp grenade.
picks up the first, grabs a second, somehow finds a third. This guy is locking down the B side. That is Trent's forte. It's been a little more
So
quiet.
good.
A little more quiet at 14 and 14.
Scanning ahead.
But when you need it most, right? To reclaim a lead in a close game, that's exactly what they need. And it resets the economy of the game.
Flashbang.
The way that Trent uses that invested utility for the rest of the team is what really makes him one of the best, if not the best that we have in North America. Incredibly consistent, and yeah, like you said, when it comes down to getting that support and also getting those kills, he's gonna be there and ready for it.
Good reveal out from Trent. Can't quite capitalize on the kill just yet, but 61 HP. That is not where Baby Bay wants to be with just a Guardian.
Oh, and Valen, he's gonna get that information to the rest of the team as well. The IGL ready for it. Good for one as well. I've seen this play before. It works out for one though. 4v4. Not the best guns to deal with. And Trent, again, there it is. When you need him.
Yeah, in a round where... Oh, okay, all right. I mean, Trent does it there for net, right? Tags him up. The spray is good. And Dicey is left doing Killjoy things. Hey, Dicey, you go play B main. And that's where he, well, remains for the entirety of the round. Just no way for that Killjoy to get involved in the play. So the team ace for the guard of Dan Dryad team ace as they find themselves 2 rounds of lead. And now it's starting to get scary because, as we said, especially for Trent, it was quiet. It wasn't anything flashy. He hadn't hit these clutches like we usually see in situations where we usually see him. But now at 8-10, we're at 8-8. These players are starting to heat up for the guard. Out of this timeout, this could spell disaster for me.
Variable removed.
And it's not only Trent as well with Valen. The way that he plays his aggression towards mid, it's something that he's been doing from week number 1, but he does in very, very specific scenarios, in those big rounds that are going to turn things around for the guard. And they just did that. He just went for that aggression, he got his one, and Trent was there ready to tag and to kill one of the players with the Odin. So it's just a setup where you really start to understand why the guard are so good in this defensive ascent.
FaZe are going to try and dissect that in this 1-minute timeout.
Placing sentry.
Try and work to figure it out. How they can either breach this B site, which, I mean, we've seen minimal success in the B split, pushing up through market, crunching out towards the site, and Baby Bay deep into the site and allowing him to fight forward. We've also seen some failures, much like the pistol round. Valen was able to key off on a couple of players there. We go dart for knife. Going to P, suppressed, and will back away, but out of the timeout, a very measured approach here from FaZe. They're still in their spawn.
This is when the guard, they really get to play their own game. It's not about what FaZe is doing, but it's about holding their ground and managing to get these last couple rounds. For FaZe, though, like I said, just played so far back. They expect that aggressive push from the guard, but it's not going to come through. You're going to have to make a move. There's 1 minute remaining. And on this B site, there's 3 players, not really where the spike is going to be located. The operator should be good for 1.
And Tex pressed there. Didn't want to go back to the angle because he was suppressed. I see. Grab the last orb that they needed to get this lockdown available. But as you mentioned, Spike's still not committed. Out towards B. Supa already used that ult to get information inside B main. Now it looks like they'll lean out towards A. They don't have a lot of time to do it, and there's 3 defenders here.
Yeah, the call is good. The guard never moved from these positionings towards A side. They were actually expecting it to end that towards A.
Wow, the spam on through. I mean, this is every Sova player's dream as Tent does it again. He's Trent starting to heat up here, and he doesn't stop in just the last 2 rounds. A flawless round for the guard as FaZe are left spinning after that one.
So clean. It goes back even to one of the things the desk was talking about. I believe Dust mentioned it, how a map like this one, where everybody knows this map so well of Ascent, it comes down to the mid round and how it's going to play out. And for the guard, it's just always the better mid round. It's all in the hands of Valen, making those calls, having the perfect reads into FaZe for the last couple rounds that we've seen that gave him the advantage after having such a close first half.
Shot down.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. 16 rounds in. It took 16 rounds for Trent to finally say, all right, I'm ready to play against this FaZe Clan team. And the rest of the team is just doing what they were doing best. The guard, a near flawless once more. Chiefs getting their money worth with this one. And it's backs against the wall. FaZe 8-12. We saw them battle back on Lotus. They have to do it again here.
And the guard, potentially continuing that 2-0 storyline that they've had for every single match so far. And challenges to 1 round away from it. You could also repeat that score from the last time these two teams faced each other in 2-0 fashion that the guard was able to take
Standing
it.
ahead.
3 suppressed.
With FaZe fighting for their lives, lockdown is going to be available here for Daisy. FaZe going, attempting to go for the mid control early on. The guard are going to play back.
I'm wondering if hearing the turret here up on Catwalk, if that's enough for them to deter FaZe out towards this B site. Jonah P and Trent are waiting.
Somewhere around there's no one towards B. That alarm bot is going to get that early control. Allow that reposition for the guard. And in the meantime, towards B site, is again Trent, one of the players that we've seen so many times in the last couple rounds. Ready for it. Playing around the 2 initiators towards B. It could be enough time. Slowly running out for FaZe.
Cover going out.
30 seconds left.
Guard, stalwart. They don't give up anything just yet. 0 point. Clears out market. Trent full util and ready to spam with Odin in hand. Instead, it's a Hunter. Shuri, but he'll split the uprights for now. Won't quite find the mark. Lockdown. Try and force the defenders, well, to be detained, but they're going to try and fight their way through it first before they go down to the lockdown. They will fight for a couple of kills, but things are even. Trent was detained, the only one who survived the onslaught out towards the B site. Now Tex and Net work once more as a dynamic duo to try and close us out here. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, it's a low Supa.
They're low.
It's a low poised. And the spike continues to tick. 0 point comes out. Suppressed are the players now. No util available. It's all about the gunfights and the low HP. They just might win them out. The shots go high. And Superman hangs on for FaZe.
FaZe, you get to see another day, another round of Ascent. In a 2v2, a little too difficult to deal with. The utility there, the positioning there for FaZe. Able to answer in time. Still though, match point for the guard. Still with a good buy into it. And a null command for Jonah P available. Last times, and a couple times as well that we saw for FaZe, they ended up pushing all the players towards that B side, allowing for that retake.
Knife deployed. Flash.
For Jonah P now on this defensive side, can just play it and just give that space early on for FaZe.
Take flight.
This is where you start to get worried, especially if you're the guard.
Bye.
Maybe FaZe have you figured out.
Turrets destroyed.
Fortunately, if you're FaZe, that's not how you want to get started. Bird goes down, and that death of Dicey basically confirms the hit here out towards the A site. Poised will deal with Net, the operator. And then no command just behind it. First shot goes wide. Jonah P gonna try his hand, and he catches Baby Bay looking the wrong way. The op shot goes wide, but Jonah P, the heartthrob, takes matters into his own hands and closes out the series. The guard hop back on their horse after a 2-0 victory of FaZe, and they start to march forward.
And the story repeats between the two teams, and the guard continues to prove themselves dominant. Again, some of the best teams of the Group A that we saw in that split. So, back and forth. Close series for those two maps, but it's always the guard proving that they're good enough for this mid-round 10 when it comes down to closing it out.
This one, just as close, but look at that scoreline a bit further than map number 1. It really was round 16 where this game was anything but close. Trent starting to come online and one of the scariest players to worry about. Jonah P also having a relatively, I say relatively quiet, but everybody was just doing their part, right? Nobody was doing anything crazy. We didn't have any aces, clutches, 3Ks, 4Ks, 5Ks. It was just Valorant was being played. It was a very close game. Round 16. I don't know, Dryad. Trent turned it on.
But that's the thing, right? That's the thing about the guard that we've been talking about since the beginning of this year and since last year. You don't always need those clutches, those flashy plays, the ace to make the difference. The team itself, the structure that they have is good enough to give them these rounds, and that is why they're comfortable losing a couple, losing maybe that early pistol round, losing 4 rounds in a row, because they always are able to make it come back. And I mean, they did it again. They did it against FaZe, a team that they haven't faced this year before, and you're just proving that they're one of the best teams that we have here.
Proving to be one of the best, and we'll see if that performance was enough for our desk to also put them in that, as we saw M80 yesterday, we saw the guard today, and there's a lot to break down from this 2-map series, and we'll do all of that after this short break.
Yo, check it out. Want to know if the price of those Wave Runners is too good to be true? Or if I Wear My Kicks 49 is truly selling dead stocks? Or if that Jordan 1 Royal Box is original? eBay checks. See that little blue check mark? Behind it is a team of independent authenticators who check. And we mean everything. Every tongue, check. Every toe box, check. Every corner of every box, check, 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 check. Every logo, every label, every lace loop. Yeah, it's checked. The luster of the leather, the topography on the tags, to the straightness of the stitching on the sole. Everything you can see, and even some things you can't.
Really?
Then they tag them, log them in the system, box them up, and ship them out, with no cost for the buyer or seller. eBay checks, so the moment you open that box is as real gets.
Ultimately, another good start to the map coming out from FaZe, but good isn't going to be good enough in this case, as the guard able to bounce back, take this first series in a 2-0. I mean, the guard, the casters hit the nail on the head here, does. One of the best, if not the best team in this, and that was a really strong victory today.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to call them number 1 or number 2 at worst in challengers, I feel like, with the performance that they've had so far. I mean, that's what the leaderboard says as well. So we kind of all agree on all angles. And it was just kind of a little bit of deja vu, honestly, when you look at this game, where it's like G2 wins the opening pistol. They get a hot start. They seem like they're on a roll. But then eventually the guard gets their economy back. They kind of regather themselves, and they start finding ways to win rounds, right? You know, starting to come out there strong at the end of the first half, and they transition well into the second half. And really didn't take too long to close it. I mean, you look at that last little run from round 16 to 22, they were pretty flawless. So just continuing to keep that Ascent win streak alive. And again, this is another win where they don't allow their opponent double digits.
Just to add into the long list right there. But yeah, were you even thinking about earlier on just the fact if the guard could get enough rounds before the swap, it should have been able to be good. But were you then surprised when things swapped over, just how quickly they were able to close that out?
By how quickly? Yes. By the end result, I think no. I think we all pretty much agree that the guard is fundamentally extremely sound, and they've been showing us that time and time again, that as soon as they get on the defense side on Ascent, it's like they're playing a whole new version of this game, right? They're being extremely proactive every single round. They're never in the back foot. But I think a pretty talking point, like I know statistically he wasn't the MVP, but Net had a phenomenal series all around, and his utility was impeccable. His lockdowns were perfectly timed every single time. He was on top of his game. He performed his role extremely well. And that's like, it kind of sucks to be in Net's position because he's such a great player, but he's overshadowed by the fact that he has also great players on his team. Like, there's no clear weakness on that team. Like, they're all incredibly strong and impactful players, and that just kind of gets overshadowed by that sometimes. But you have to give credit to him because his lockdowns were clean, pristine on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right, by the way. I mean, certainly people look to like Trent and they look to Tex and look at some of the numbers that those guys are putting up and where they're ranked out on the leaderboard, but actually Net's top 10 in KD, so just throw that one out there. And like you said, very clutch decision-making in critical moments. Like, that means the world to a team to have a guy who can be trusted to be alone, to anchor a site and be able to pull off the lockdowns when required to help get his team back in position. However, I will say, I think we saw an improved FaZe today. I want to throw a little bit of positivity in their direction. They tried a couple of new compositions on both maps today. They definitely gave themselves some opportunities, particularly on Lotus. There was definitely a real chance for them to win that map. They had some real big moments go their way, but it's just like when you get into the finer details, it's just the Guard are more efficient in those like nitty-gritty moments, I feel like, and that's really the difference maker when it comes down to some of these like tighter maps that we saw today, I think.
I mean, at the end of the day, too, FaZe, the improvement is great to see. They're not out of the tournament, just knocked down to lower. And they were going up against our number one, maybe number two, depending on your opinion of it, team. So it's definitely, as long as we can see that improvement, hey, in my books, it's all good. I'm excited to see them go for the lower bracket run. That's our first series done for the day, though. We're going to have our interview up shortly, but as we get that ready, enjoy our series highlights.
Grounded. 30 seconds left. One down. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Blinded. One enemy. Turret destroyed. One enemy remaining. Flawless. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Variable removed. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Time to die.
Hello, everyone. Great series to start off our day with the Guard, number one team that we have going on forward in our mid-season face-off, taking that victory and standing by for that interview. I am pleased to be joined by Ellen. Talk a little bit about the game and just thoughts about things in general. First off, congratulations, the 2-0 to be starting off the mid-season face-off. Tell me how you're feeling.
Feeling good. You know, it's always nice to start off any playoff bracket with a win. It just gives you some leeway when it's double elimination. So I'm glad we played well today. FaZe looked pretty good, so I'm glad like we were able to still show up and beat them.
So then going into this match, you said FaZe looking pretty good today, and there's also just a really big fundamental change in styles between the two teams. So how did you think going into this series that things would play out?
I mean, we've played FaZe a lot, especially last year, so we kind of know like what their style is and how they like to play. I would say they were much better at switching up the pace and faking map control than they usually are. They're usually a lot more readable, but today I think, or the last couple weeks, I think they've improved a lot. But yeah, it was nothing new to us. I think we play well versus this style. As long as, you know, our aim is good and we're hitting some shots, we're able to deal with like their superstars like Dicey, Baby Bay. I mean, the whole team is capable of taking over. So as long as we're hitting our shots, macro-wise, we'll be fine. And it showed today.
Well, then you're saying too that FaZe is looking improved, and a lot of teams looking forward into our midseason face-off. I mean, they're putting in the work. Teams are definitely trying to level up. So looking ahead now that the teams that are going to base it off, how are you feeling about the Guards' chances to take the whole thing down?
I mean, I'm always going to say my team is going to win it all. But truthfully, like, as long as, you know, I've always been a person, like, as long as we play our game, we'll be, like, that's all I worry about. I don't worry about the teams. Like, no one in the server matters ourselves. And I always tell my team that every day, like, just it's you versus you. It's us versus us. So that's kind of the motto we're going through this year. We don't really look forward to our next matchup or who's in the playoff bracket or anything like that. As long as we're in our goals, hitting our targets, the result should take care of itself. And that's what we've been preaching since day one. So far, it's working. But, we still have a lot to improve. We're still showing a lot of mistakes. We're starting slow. So, we're not getting complacent. We got a lot to work on. We're trying to look perfect by the end of the year.
So let's talk about a couple of those things to work on, because you said starting slow. We did get to see that FaZe got the early start on both of those maps. What else do you really think needs to be improved upon for this team to make sure you can be making it back up to the top league Valorant?
Yeah, I think mentally and stuff like that, we're all fine. Even if we go down 6-0, we know we're still capable of winning the map always. We're a pretty confident team. But I would say I got to cook up some better pistol strats, I guess, because we're not winning many pistols right now. So I'll take the blame for that. I'll work on that. But once we can start winning some more pistols, which allows us to possibly win a bonus round, get alt economy going, these games will look a lot cleaner, honestly. It opens up the possibility to start 4-0, 6-0 when just off the pistol round. So we need those for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to some cheeky pistol strats, believe me. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned before. You talked about the fact, this is your team. You're always going to be thinking that you're going to be the team to win. But that's kind of a shared sentiment among a lot of people out there that the Guard is one of the best, if not the best team that we have going forward to this mid-season face-off. Love to hear your thoughts a little bit more about that, whether you think it's fully deserved, maybe from a non-biased you being on the team standpoint, but just actually in terms of the skill that you have on the roster.
Yeah, people like to put this team on a pedestal because of last year's performances. We had our big run to make Iceland. A lot of our individual names blew up. Trent, Net, Jonah, everyone. We kind of came from nowhere, so we had a lot of hype. But we don't really look at last year. We had good results with that roster. Coming into this year, we have a new fifth. So to us, it's we've done nothing. There's, there's no reason for us to personally have an ego and think, oh, we're the best. These teams can't touch us, stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's a whole new league, right? So we appreciate the fan support. It gives us confidence, when we see people happy and confident that we're going to win. I'm glad that we can show that for the fans. But in terms of in our circle of the team and how we play practice and our mentality on being one of the favorites, we don't think that. We just focus on us, make sure we're hitting our goals, and the result will come. Because I feel if you start thinking you're the best, you could start slacking off in practice. People might get a little bit complacent, and you always need that wake-up call. And I would say when we lost to TSM, we had a little bit of a wake-up call to start practicing efficient. Because to be honest, I would say practice before that was a little too much fun. But we started picking it back up, and I think we learned some valuable lessons from that match. And moving forward, we're going to be a solid team. Every match we play throughout the whole year, losses are good.
All right, just maybe not too many, at least not at this point, since we are in playoffs. All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of moving on in the playoffs, you're going to be going up against the winner of G2 or Oxygen Gaming at this point. Do you have a thought of who you're going to be up against, or who you'd prefer to go up against?
I want to play G2 so I can beat Emmy. Other than that, that's all I care about. I just want to beat Emmy, so he talks a lot. That's it.
Love that. Love that. Our final question, this one is going to be coming from our fan zone. You're talking a little bit about coming in with a new player, and Blitz wants to know, how is it to play with Tex versus say a player?
Whoa, what a crazy question. All right.
I'm sure you've been asked that before.
Yeah. Both are great. I'm not going to share anything. Both are some of the best Jets I've ever played with in my career. I would say the difference is Saya was very, very aggressive, and he was just a master in the chaos. And that was really good for us because we had a very fast play style last year. We were known for our explosive pushes, really good reactions, stuff like that. And Saya's just going in, cleaning up 3 kills for us, easy post plant, right? I would say the thing with Tex is he's more methodical with his gameplay. He likes to contact up areas slowly. I wouldn't say he's as explosive in the chaos, but he still can be. When you see these fast strats, especially on CT side, you see him kind of unleash that potential. But Tex helps us a lot in the mid-rounding, and just because he has really good comms. So yeah, he's much more methodical player, I would say. But like I said, both are great. So I can't pick one. Don't make me pick one. That's not happening.
Side attacks both great. I'm not gonna make you pick, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. Congrats yet again. Great to see you moving on in the playoff. Have a good rest of your day, okay?
Thank you so much, Sierra. Have a good day.
You do. All right, for us, that's our first series done, and now we have to find out who is going to be playing up against. G2 and Oxygen Gaming are going to be after this break. Don't go too far.